Hello, welcome again to another episode on Talk Architecture Podcast. And I'm your host, Naziati Muhammad Yaqub. This episode is a teaser for the upcoming interview that I will be having with architect Lillian Tay of Veritas Design Group. And it's very insightful, you can get a lot of advice from this, regardless of your gender. But we're still on the topic of women architects in leadership roles. So we have a top architect who happened to be a woman, and she has a lot of stuff to tell you about, shall we say, how attitudes need to be right in working with corporations or bigger companies, and how you could negotiate the problems that you may think you will encounter as a woman architect. And it is something that is in the context of the Malaysian architectural scene, but it could be similar to other places as well. But the attitudes are that people would help you. And there are senior members of the architectural team that will assist you. And you would be, have a good orientation to a big practice when you're in a big practice. So it's a different outlook than what we have talked about in with the other guests on this show. So, would like to also point out that architect Lillian Tay, um, as the vice president of Veritas Design Group, established in 1987, I'll be giving an introduction in the first part, so you will get that introduction. And she was also the Pertubuhan Architect Malaysia, or the Malaysian Institute of Architect, president in 2019 and 2020. And we will be touching on a lot of stuff. And you'd need to go and listen to the whole episode because, for example, in part 2, there's a lot on general things about architectural practice, and some ideas on how to make our built environment have places for childcare, and how she would like to propose that to the KL or Kuala Lumpur mayor, who also happened to be a woman, and also that whether this will pan out as something else, and talking about technical things and a lot of ideas of solving this problem of infrastructure. But at the end of part 2, you will have her take on the glass ceiling, whether there is a glass ceiling, and how is it in the context of Malaysian architectural industry. This poses the problem for the female architect. And there are a lot of advice for everyone, not necessarily just female architect, because she has to deal at that top level with other people, consultants, contractors, a lot of general insights that we could gain from listening. All in all, taking us to some fundamentals about practice. And you would get a lot more as well in terms of the take on how the problem that women architects face as a mid-level architect, and is associated with the way the Malaysian culture, think of families, and how um, the woman has to do everything and has to be there for the child. And there was this thing that keeps on popping up, and I asked her again regarding women who at the mid-level and having a family, deciding to have a family, say that they would come back to continue architecture, but they didn't. They they just go on taking care of the family, and that is more important than a career. But there's also the question of why aren't husbands as well? It's always a traditional thing. Happened all her 35 years of experience in architecture industry in Malaysia, and the issues of how men need to be helping with the house or the home and raising the children as well. This has been said before as well in previous interviews, from people who are much more senior. So that natural instinct of being a mother lead them to wanting to be the one that has to sacrifice their career. But these things are cultural, and it's just things that needs to be brought out into the open, and you want to listen to what's being said by someone who is been around for a while. So the every building or a few buildings or groups of buildings having a nursery and other community facilities is a good thing to think about when thinking about the infrastructure of the city. So we shall be listening to all that and more. And I look forward to the interviews. And excuse me for all the coughing. And I would think that we are on the right track with regards to this series of interviews on women architects and leadership roles, because this is getting to be fun, and fun in a way that we're getting a lot of insights here. And the thing is, some of them may resonate with what you are facing in your country, and some of them is particular to the Malaysian culture. But we can see similarities, and we can see that the need for parity with the gender is always at the back of our mind, even though we think we observe that things are okay when we see them. But obviously, there could be people with much more challenges than others. So, yeah, do listen to this very insightful interview that I will have with architect Lillian Tay, and part 1 and part 2 is coming up very soon. Yes. Thank you for listening.